I didn't know that they could make stupid childhood rhymes into something creepy, but somehow this book did it. Not bad. Hello, everyone. Britton here, also known as Some Okie Dude, and I'm back today with another book review. I'm going to be covering The Changeling by Victor LaValle. Victor LaValle has become one of my favorite concurrent horror writers working today. His tendency to play with different genres, and his playfulness and style, and how he just loves to skirt the lines, really keeps me coming back for more. The Ballad of Black Tom, for instance, was a fun reimagining of one of Lovecraft's most egregiously racist stories, boldly contending with Lovecraft's contentious legacy, we might dare say. Devil in Silver was an angry, sometimes comic, and occasionally touching novel, with some scary bits in there too, because, we gotta keep things spicy. I did a review of that book last October. I will link it down below if anyone wants to see that. But I enjoy that. I've enjoyed all of his books. I really enjoyed Ballad of Black Tom. I really enjoyed The Devil in Silver. And I was looking forward to whatever LaValle had planned next. So I finally got around to reading The Changeling last year. Actually around this time, last year. So, yeah, I thought it would be interesting to talk about this book because, it's Black History Month, and also I'm a big fan of Victor LaValle, and I wanted to give him his due because, well, I don't see a lot of people covering him on YouTube. Well, maybe the Ballad of Black Tom, but you know how it is. So I got around to reading The Changeling, and it proved to be yet another cracker from the mind of one of our most promising writers. Much as the story advertises, The Changeling is a fairy tale, but not the kind where the princesses get with Prince Charming and everyone lives happily ever after like you would see in something like Shrek or the Disney films. But the ones that you tell your children to scare them into staying good, kind of like Hansel and Gretel, for instance. The fairy tales that inspired Mike Mignola and Guillermo del Toro with their much darker oeuvre. This book is LaValle, really, for me, channeling Neil Gaiman. There's a very Gaiman vibe here, exposing us to the darkly whimsical world where it seems like anything is possible. I don't mean that in the good way, though. Much like Gaiman, we see LaValle finding the magic that lurks underneath our mundane lives, and he proves to be very good at it. I mean, I really enjoyed the underground magical undercurrent in New York City. You can definitely feel the long and tumultuous history of New York City in this book, and LaValle really brings the atmosphere out very well. There's a lot of really great descriptive writing in this book, and the storytelling in this, I know there are a lot of people who said this feels like 3 stories combined into one. I never really got that from, like, the negative reviews I've heard. I never really got that when I was reading this. Everything feels like it's on purpose, but, then again, I like LaValle, so I'm probably biased there. If I could describe what this book is, it's kind of like the Hellboy comic, The Corpse. You guys know that's the real famous one, where, he has to save the kid. But in this book, there isn't a big red demon man running around, cracking quips and kicking ass. The story being told here is a much more human affair. LaValle has a talent of getting you invested in his characters' lives. He did it very well in The Devil in Silver. In particular, I thought the characterization in that book was exquisite, and The Ballad of Black Tom was pretty good too. I quite enjoyed it. My friend Alan from Goodreads pointed out that LaValle is really good at making you care for his characters before he does horrible things to them, and horrible things do happen, though I won't spoil. But LaValle isn't afraid to punish his characters. Yet, like with The Devil in Silver, he draws them with such warmth and such heart that you can't help but feel for him. LaValle has a talent of making you feel what his characters are feeling like. Like, there are moments where Apollo is describing this just really dark feeling he's had and all the bad thoughts that went through his head after a particular thing happens, which I will not spoil. And there's a lot of broody angst in this book, since Apollo's dad basically bailed on him when he was younger, and Apollo never really got over it. But I'm not going to say that this book was a completely joyless experience. There's a lot of good humor in this. I also particularly liked Patrice, who is Apollo's best friend. He's a guy who works at a bookstore. They end up finding old books, and they sell them, or they put them out for people to appreciate. He was a great character. He was a lot of fun. And he also proved to be useful. He wasn't just a, comic relief character. He was there for a purpose. So it wasn't just like, when things were getting too heavy, he would just, show up like he were the neighbor from Full House or something. LaValle, though, as I mentioned, LaValle has a talent of making you feel like what his characters feel like. And he kind of reminds me of Stephen King in that how he illustrates how his characters feel with such clarity, and the way he uses descriptors in his work, it feels like you're right alongside them, going through this experience alongside them. The Changeling feels like LaValle's most personal work to date, and much of it has to deal with the uncertainty and worries that comes from being a father. Apollo wants desperately to avoid the mistakes of his father, who he barely knew, and he wants to be there every step of the way for his kid. While I am not a father yet, I have been a son, and I was compelled by Apollo's journey to not repeat the mistakes of his father, and to realize what it means to be a good father, and that is often explored in this book. One of the other things I really liked about this book is how it combines this very mystical undercurrent, but also with our modern society, because like there is a lot of references to social media, the internet. There's even a part where Patrice and Apollo use the internet and end up finding a big clue in the mystery that's going on in this book. I really like that. But I find what ultimately this story is about the lengths that a parent will go for their child. I mean, there are some flaws in this story, such as the fact that there's some information about Apollo's long-lost father that doesn't really go anywhere. Unless I missed something, then by all means, feel free to let me know, those who've read the book. But ultimately, I felt that the story being told here was Apollo's journey, and the information about his father served to encourage Apollo on his own journey to not make the same bad choices his father did, and to create a better path and a better future for his child. Sorry, not his father. I really like how this book really goes into the sacrifices that parents make for their children, and you can definitely tell that LaValle was taking from his own experiences. If I recall correctly, he is also a father of, I think, either one or two kids. I'm not sure. You can look it up on Wikipedia. I don't care. I'm not an expert. But I really like the mythological exploration in this story, and how myth and our mundane life kind of comes together. Again, it was kind of like American Gods in the sense that there's this mystical undercurrent underneath our normal society that we don't see. Now, would I say Changeling does it as well as American Gods did? I would say no, but the story that was being told here is a really good one, and I really enjoyed reading it as it went on, even through the really sad parts, because there's some dark stuff going on in this story. Now, some people might find the ending a little cheesy, but I found that maybe not the ending. Let me back up there. I know there's some people who might find the big reveal of what this, changeling is might be a little underwhelming, but I personally thought it fit very well with this book's fairy tale vibe. This is very much a dark fairy tale about New York City and America, and all of the stuff that people have gone through in history. There's even some commentary in here. There's not a lot of it, but there is some commentary about racial tensions in America, but it's not super apparent. It doesn't get in the way of the story that's being told here. But overall, I really enjoyed The Changeling a lot. Once again, The Changeling proves that Victor LaValle is a talent whose scope reaches wide and whose style keeps me intoxicated for more. I have to know what Victor LaValle is doing next, because The Changeling is great, Devil in Silver was great, Battle of Black Tom was very good, and I haven't read a bad book from him yet. To call The Changeling a mere horror novel, I think would be selling it short. It's a darkly fantastic journey into the underbelly of myth and storytelling, while also being a deeply personal story about the sacrifices we make for the ones that we love. I wouldn't recommend reading this book if you're a new parent, because there's some stuff in here that, if you've just had a kid, probably wait to read this for a while. But I think it's also a really good book for any parent and child because there's a lot of really great moments and a lot of poignant moments about being a parent and the sacrifices you make for your kids. And I mean, if I, a 22 going on 23-year-old man from Oklahoma City, can appreciate the artistry of this novel, then I think some of you guys can too. Well, that is all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to check me out, you can go to Twitter. You can go to Letterboxd and Goodreads, where I write reviews that are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. You can also find me on Discord if you want to come talk to me. Recommend me books. I don't bite, I promise. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I mean, click that like button, click the subscribe button. It does not cost you a dime. And also, like my buddy John Minton at Talking Story likes to say, it just feels good. It'll give you a pep in your step. I mean, not really much else for me to say. I do it for Victor LaValle, at least. I mean, do it for Victor LaValle. I think he'll appreciate it. I'm just talking out of my ass at this point. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and, yeah, not really much else for me to say, so check out The Changeling. I thought it was a really good book. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.